Hello and welcome to the Play Ed 3 podcast. My name is Rick, and as always, I'm here with the amazing Tisha Poncio. Tish, it's middle of November.
It is.
And one of the things that kind of is a little bit of an heated argument is, when do we start celebrating Christmas? Now, obviously, in the UK, we do not have Thanksgiving. We have what we call bonfire night on 5th of November.
We have Thanksgiving because we left all of you over there.
Now, I didn't want to make this political, and you've just thrown in the political side of things.
Sorry. No, it's interesting that you asked me this. We did talk about this in October because I was talking about minimalistic decor, because I'm the one that has to put the decor up and put the decor away after the season. But I put my Christmas tree up last weekend, and I am not even kidding when I tell you that I just needed the twinkling of the lights to bring me a little bit more joy this year. I was ready, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna maybe it's one less lamp I have to turn on now. The Christmas tree lights just come on naturally. So, what about you? When do you decorate?
It's got to be 1st of December.
That's sad. It's the saddest thing.
How is that?
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard, aside from someone wearing gray shirts every day.
I've gone grey to black as well, so I mean.
Well, guess what?
Getting darker, but you know
we have a triplet with us today,
we do.
And I have been so excited. I say this. I know you guys think I say this about every person that we have, but the truth of the matter is, our guest today, Brian Sepe. Now, if you want to say it in the French way and make it really fancy, you can. Brian and I go all the way back to 2021. Well, really 2020, but 2021 is when we started like co-moderating a room together on Clubhouse. And I said this to him backstage before we hit record, but I do want to say it publicly, and then we're going to do a little intro game with his bio. Brian he wrote in his bio, and I always love this because teachers tell me this too. I'm just a teacher. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're not just a teacher. But Brian's title was instructional. He wrote instructional coach and leadership coach. And I just sat there and looked at it and went, he is totally underestimating who he is, what he's about, what he does, and the influence he has. And so what I want you to know is that when I connect with Brian, I learned you can't connect with Brian and not learn a billion things in like a 30-minute segment. And he is one of the reasons that I read certain things on a daily basis now. But welcome, Brian, to our podcast. It is so exciting to have you, and we didn't even plan to all match.
Nope.
I love wearing the black every day. Pretty much, I have such a bad habit of buying just black t-shirts and plain t-shirts that
don't you think it's
I don't
good,
have
though?
to think much. Yeah, I don't have to think much.
It's one less. Yeah. It's one less decision you have to make. For all of you listening or watching, we found out that Brian, Rick, and I all have very similar brains, and too many decisions is going to create burnout for us, and we're going to spend all of our brain power on deciding what we're wearing. Today, apparently, we all woke up and thought, we're going to wear black shirts today. And our microphones almost match too. I think the two of you have better microphones than I do, but I digress. Brian, I know, Rick, I know you want to say things, but I have to give him.
I'm staying stunned because we'll end up talking for like 3 hours before we actually get into anything serious.
Brian, I want to just really highlight this because Brian has given us a bio. Like, we ask every guest for a bio, but I always run the person through ChatGPT because I like to see what ChatGPT says and if
like
it's
you're
accurate.
vetting them or something.
No, actually, vice versa. I'm vetting ChatGPT actually because I told ChatGPT it cannot always be right. I actually told it that in my personalization. And so I want to see if these things match. So, Brian, we're going to start with a little game. I usually do this at the end. But it says Brian is an educator, instructional coach, and consultant. I know that's true. Correct?
True. That is true.
For how many years?
This is now 21 years in education. 20 years in education. Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay, it says you earned your master's from a university in Buffalo, New York.
Yes. Canisius University, yes.
Okay, very good. and that you've spent 18 years working in the Buffalo and Orchard Park region in New York as an elementary, middle school teacher and instructional coach. Is
All
that
right,
also right?
let's call that the lie, because it's actually 20 years.
I knew there would be one in there.
20 or 21 years, yeah. I think, or maybe they're taking the time off that I was out working with Gym Night and the instructional coaching group. So it's possible that's where they got that.
The
Yeah.
little name drop there. Now, if you
Yeah.
are listening and you are actually, if you're a coach of any kind and you don't know about Gym Night, you need to go now. We're going to get into that. But Gym Night is the first name that came up when I started my own instructional coaching and digital coaching journey. That would have been in 2007. And that was the very first name. So early years. It also says that you work for or have worked for roles that include instructional coaching, consulting, developing grant research on coaching, and presenting at national and international conferences.
True.
Ah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get into this because the grant research part is like, it's a sparkle for my brain.
Yeah.
And then this is fun. So if you're listening, and I've never done an intro like this before, Brian. Rick is probably like, where does this come from, Tisha? I don't know. I just made
Every
it up on
single
the
week
fly.
is different, so I'm just like, I go with the flow with it.
Your online presence, so I know this because this is how I met you, but you cultivate social profiles on X, TikTok, and Instagram, and it says you identify as a creator, obsessed with personal growth and development.
It's true.
It's true.
All true.
It's true.
Yeah.
And this is why Brian really, everything he shares, everything that he's learned resonates with me because I too am obsessed with personal growth and development. But you also shared something backstage about recording videos and creating content and putting it out and then leaving the app. And I said to you, that is the coolest approach, I think, right now in social media, because you are not just consuming. Your consuming rate is so much lower than everyone else's, which means your creation rate is so much higher. And I believe creating is what we need more of. And that is what is going to change the world. So kudos to you on that.
Thanks.
And now
Yeah.
officially welcome to the Play at 3 podcast.
I appreciate it. I'm so excited to be here, and I appreciate that warm welcome. And it's great to be here with both of you and your audience too. So, yeah, I'll just touch on that just briefly before we get into anything else. Yeah, I feel really guilty sometimes about that. But here's the deal. Here's my quick. I wish I could say that the content that I record, short form being like the easiest for me. Although I've kind of since rebooted some of my YouTube stuff, and I could talk about that too. I was just talking to my wife about this, also an educator, and we were talking about being part of the generative process and creating. You're only doing this thing one time, as far as we know, and to be out there to create something feels exciting. It feels exhilarating, right? But a lot of those things are for my own personal development. Now, I will say, with personal growth and development, like whoever you are listening to this, watching this, you are enough where you are. But I do think there is something that we all strive for, which is just being marginally better in certain areas, whatever that domain is for you, or multiple domains. But I feel like stretching up a little bit in each of those areas is a quest that can be done progressively over time and slowly up and to the right. So I just want to say, like, wherever you are on your journey, like, you're enough right now. Like, don't always be obsessed with this quest to be better, improved. But I do believe there is a very nice space between your very best at something, your best podcast, your best keynote address, whatever your best writing. Just beyond that, best though is better. And if you are willing to kind of pursue that space between best and better, which is sort of the brand that I subscribe to, it's what I call my Substack right now is Best to Better. I think if you're willing to do that work in there, you'll make new discoveries. And I think that's what I'm more passionate about as it relates to personal growth and development is that sort of new discovery of what's possible in this sort of human potential that we all have.
I'm not you always leave me speechless, and I do think it's funny. We did not hire Brian to be here to be our own personal coaches, but everything you just said I think resonates with Rick and I as well.
Mhm.
There were times, and we've spoken about neurodivergent learners and people, and I think I just spoke about it this morning. You know, our brains operate differently. Uh, Rick knew when we started this podcast because it was an argument behind the scenes that nobody saw because he said, Tisha, I'm going to hit record and that's it. You're not going to get to edit. You're not going to get to go back.
Yeah,
You
that's a
have
good
to be
thing.
ready. And this is what we're doing. And it's that
Mm.
it's going out and it was that process of creating, like you said. And I had to personally go, that's enough.
Mhm.
That will be enough. And in that process, we have refined it over and
Mhm.
over and over and over.
Mhm.
And so I think you just have the best advice, honestly, for anybody who's listening. I'm reading again, I have your bio and the Chat GPT side by side. And I was thinking as you were talking about your TikTok and kind of your approach, one of the TikToks that you said that you posted that resonated with me so much. It makes me laugh now because that was when I reached out to you. It's been several months ago. Your
Oh, yeah.
post was like, if you're following, I'm going to be talking about a billion different things. And so if you're here for one thing, you're also going to get these things. And I have never resonated. I struggle
Yeah.
personally with all of my social media pages because I feel like people come to expect just Tisha to talk about this particular thing, digital portfolios,
Mm.
Wakelet, Smart and Lumio, the book, right? But I am so much more, and my
Mhm.
brain goes in lots of different directions on any given day. All it'll take is for you to listen to a couple of these episodes to know that. I think what I love about you is that you just put it out there and you
Yeah.
just said it. And I am trying to follow your lead on that and get into a place where I'm just sharing videos.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not to your point there, and you can tell that if you go to my TikTok page. I feel safer doing writing. I feel
Mm.
safer on a status, right? But a lot of my friends this morning even said, Tisha, you haven't been on Marco Polo for a really long time. And I was like, oh, shoot, you noticed. Because Marco Polo is video. It's like Snapchat
Sure.
kind of.
Yeah.
And the whole idea and premise is exactly what you said. You show
Mhm.
up, you send a video, you do not overthink it. You don't have to be camera
Mhm.
ready. You just say the thing. And sometimes it's hard for me to do that. And I do think it's because neurodivergent teachers, leaders, people for a long time probably have been criticized for the way that they're showing up in conversations or the
Mhm.
way that they are speaking in a meeting or to a class. And I think it is something that I'm having to rewire my brain with,
Mhm.
which leans into what ChatGPT says about you. And I already knew this, but you focus on habits, belief, and ideas. And
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Tell
That's a
us tell us your biggest belief right now, because I know, as you
Mm.
said, you're always being better. So what is your biggest belief right now or your
Mm.
biggest discovery?
Yeah, I think my biggest belief right now is that everybody deserves some big permission slip to rethink and recalibrate the beliefs that they once held. I
Ooh.
think especially now more than ever, whether that is something that you're dealing with personally or if you're in the educational world and you're looking at the landscape of education, like there are a lot of people that feel like this burden of guilt for having a belief that they have seen through. And like there's also this stage right now where it's like it's okay. Like it's okay to like relax your stance on a thing.
Mhm.
I'm doing a talk next Thursday with Choice Literacy. I write for Choice Literacy and Ruth Ayers, and her and I are doing a talk for coaches. And I wouldn't say I have relaxed my stance on goal setting, but goal setting was a huge part of the things that I've talked about, and I have just slightly moved it to the right, I guess, a little bit around. Think about, yes, goals are very appropriate for people that can or have the executive function to manage that
Mhm.
space around goals and all the work that needs to go into achieving said goals. However, there is a space where it's like okay to experiment for a little while and just get comfortable, just like kind of like what you were talking about as it relates to Marco Polo, which is an interesting app altogether. I do love the interface of that app.
Mhm.
And I have used it, but I think the same thing there. It's like, well, what happens if you just flip the camera to you and you record whatever's front of mind for you?
Yes.
And sometimes that may be in your line of work or what your skill set is aligned to, but other times it might not. It might be the new discovery for like, hey, listen, you know what? Like walking after dinner is like really making me feel more
Mhm.
energetic and productive, right? And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, well, if that's your thing, then just say that thing. It's like, well, that's not my space. That's not my niche.
Yeah.
I think we get in our own way sometimes around that space. But yeah, I think being able to rethink, as Adam Grant would put it, I guess, but rethink some of the things that you had once held as strong beliefs and
Mhm.
just what is the new belief that you've been able to upload or rethink a little bit. And that's okay. I think people just need that permission. Like it's like just say the thing. Where are you now? Because you're not the same person. That's the other thing. Like you're not the same person you were 10
Mhm.
there's I am nowhere near where I was 10 years ago
Mhm.
in any of this journey. And my journey around the social media, the content, I was pushed. I had one incredible thought partner in my life. Unfortunately, he passed away, but he was instrumental in just pushing me every day in like a very Gary V style
Yeah.
push
Oh, I
Mhm.
where
love Gary Vee.
he would say, just post a thing. He's like, you're so good at communicating. You can just say the thing. And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure, Adam. You know, he's like, yeah, you're wasting your time. And he's right. He was right because it doesn't
Mm.
matter. Just say the thing. It will get better as you continue to say the thing.
See how he just leaves
Mhm.
me I don't even have, like there's not a lot of people that can come on and then I don't have something, but I feel like, Brian, you are coaching Rick and I in real time, and
The,
people are just watching.
There you
yeah,
go. That's
the
okay.
thing that I would just the one thing I just want to say, I mean, I tend to just sit on the sidelines listening to Tish talking to any of our guests, and then I may come in a little bit late. Honestly, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines for this entire thing and just say bye to everybody at the very end. I mean, this is just
No.
I'm just mesmerized. I mean, I've got some questions for you and stuff, which I'm
Yeah.
sure after Tish has gone through hers. But I'm resonating so much with everything that you're saying because I'm very much of a believer of you have to keep moving forward with what you're doing, and you can settle and be comfortable, but going out and seeing what can I do where I'm a little bit better than I was before. And
Mhm.
it's not about just, oh, I can do this thing better in work or I can perform better at work or whatever it is. It's also down to your personal side of how can I look after myself better? How can I
Mhm.
support my health better? Whether it's not just eating, but can I sleep better? Can I relax better? I mean, when I was at Wake Club, I would finish work, come home, and my mind is just fully on work again. I would never rest. I would never switch off. And since then, now, I mean, Tish has seen a huge difference in me.
Mm.
I'm sleeping better. I'm
Mhm.
able to actually take time for myself. I'm journaling a hell of a lot more than I ever
Mm.
did before. And it's
Yeah.
those little steps that I have made for myself to help better myself, not just in knowledge, but just in my own well being as well, to
Mhm.
give a more balance right across the board with everything. Tish, what?
I was just gonna
You
say people show up better. People show up better when they're
Yes.
Yeah.
taking care of themselves. And I think, one I wanna come back to this because I was thinking as Rick was speaking, one of the things that stops me from posting, as you said, and your friend giving you the advice, just say the thing,
Mm.
just post the thing. I follow Gary Vee all the time, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Yes, I'm gonna do it." And then I'm like, "Nope, not doing it." And I think it is fear. That's one of
Mhm.
them. And I think fear of criticism,
Mhm.
being in the roles that I've been in, and thinking in different ways will definitely put you in a spotlight for criticism. So I
Mhm.
think one of the questions I have for you that I would love for you to answer, because I don't think I'm alone in this. I think this
Mhm.
is very an across the board idea with teachers and just people, but how do you approach the fear or the criticism before you're posting, before you pitch a good idea to, a keynote audience, or you're planning that? Like, explain a little bit about that for our
Sure.
listeners.
You're not going to like the answer.
I'm going to love it, Brian, because you're telling it to us.
All right. So the answer is probably more simple than you think. I really don't care. I really, like, I don't.
Let's lean into that. Let's lean into that more. When you say, I don't care, tell me the story behind that.
All right. So I take a very practitioner's, let me set this up a little bit differently. Go back to a time when you were like had a beginner's mindset around anything, right? It could be anything. If you really want to test yourself, here's a little test I can give you. I don't know. People laugh when I say this, but I don't know. It works. Try it out. Go 30 days brushing your teeth with your opposite hand. Go 30 days. Commit to a full 30. Like don't 30 days. And you're going to find the first few days you're going to want to resist it. It doesn't feel the same. There's sensations that feel different. And then you're going to go back to you're going to want to go back to your dominant hand, right? Because your default mechanism is to believe that the way you've always done the thing is the way you do the thing. Yeah. And what I believe is you got to give yourself permission to experiment and explore and play a little bit. And if it's playing with language and there are 10 people at work that watch my thing and they don't love it, like, then it's not for them. And that's okay. If there are 15 people that I see throughout my day, I just did a coaching clinic for a baseball clinic on Tuesday. We were off Tuesday. And one guy, young guy, very young guy. And he said, I watch all of your stuff. It is very motivating, even though some of it is rooted in education. I take away a little bit every time. And I'm like, that's all the feedback I really needed. Cause I'm like, if I'm creating for one person out there that benefits, like you said that it matters for you. And I'm like, well, then I'll just design for people like Tisha, people who are curious about what's beyond their very best attempts at a thing and what's lying ahead for them to improve and become a little bit better. And Rick, you touched on it earlier too. And I wrote down just a few reminders for myself as I talk about this, but I think getting clear on like the work-life balance thing has been a conversation of mine lately. When you said that you went home and you worked a lot, that second shift mindset that I think we all have, especially in education right now, has to stop because, and I feel very firm about that, but you have to find a way to pour into the other domains of your life. So whether it is health, wealth, relationships, learning, some people would even put faith in one of those categories, or spirituality, whatever you want to call it, whatever that means for you, right? That those domains matter. So I would say, personally, I'm like, actually, it's not about work-life balance and finding some sort of off-ramp for the amount of work you're doing. I actually feel like it's doubling down on very strict goals and explorations and experiments in each of those domains simultaneously. It's like when I wake up in the morning, I talked about the idea of not consuming too much. I will say I do consume content. It's just sometimes it's in a different, like it's not always on TikTok or X or anything like that. Sometimes I'll go into and I have very specific things that I'm looking for on YouTube. And it's like, I'm looking for nutrition every morning. I have the same meal pretty much every day. Another great.
We are all the same. Yeah, yes, you know.
Another great side effect of being neurodivergent. However, I have the same meal every day, and it's become a very, very healthy start to my day, and it's good. But I'm always looking for like what else could fine tune the thing. So I will go in for 30 minutes as I'm eating, after I've read. Yeah, so I read a little bit to start my day as my coffee is working, right? And by reading, I mean, I'm reading a page of like the Daily Stoic, right? Like I'm not like, it's not.
There it is. If you want to know the thing that Brian taught me to read every day, it's the Daily Stoic. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. 365 days. You got it. So you could do that. Sometimes I'll write a little bit, but not too often. I get up very, very early to do that. But as I'm having this meal, I'm also consuming content about health. And I think that learning and having the goals around like, what are my fitness goals? What are my health goals? You know, how can I level that up a little bit? And honestly, every time I go through a little learning loop for like a new thing that I'm trying for a certain duration or frequency, or seeing if it can really take hold as a habit for me, each one of those loops, when I transcend that initial first loop and I'm like, oh, wait a second, this is how you run an ultra marathon? I could do that. right? Like, it's like,
Yes.
so I just put myself in that mindset of like, then
The
go pursue the
audacious
thing.
confidence that you
Yeah,
can
right.
get in that, right? Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the level to unlock for everybody out there. It's like, and I know this ties into all the things we've talked about so far, but the idea that you're just one dimensional around your
Yes.
pursuits is illogical,
Yes.
right? And being able to be sort of multi-dimensionally jacked, I guess would be the way to think
Ooh, I
about it. Like,
like that.
that's not mine. That comes from Dan Coe, but I think the way that he phrases that is really important, because that's it. It's like, I want to be a learner I want to read in the morning. I want to write in
Mhm.
the evening. I
Yes.
still want to run. I still want to go to
Yes.
the gym, and I still want to be able to lead a keynote or have a
Yes.
podcast or do something creative. And
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
all of those things are worth pursuing and doubling down on and talking about, right, at length. So I think going back to like the what gets you over your fear, it's like, I'm talking about unlocking levels of like a practitioner approach to what I'm learning. I'm learning in real time in front of you because I'm saying the thing. And most of the
Mhm.
things that I'm talking about are about like 70% sort of formed in my head. Like, they're not fully
Yes.
formed. Knowing that if I get it to 70% and I'm there in my idea and I kind of can find the people who it's resonating with, okay, but also positioning myself to say this is not always for them. It's for me to improve my communication or my ideas. What I have found by posting short form content for me is, when I get it out of my head at 70%, I connect more dots, which again goes back to my permission slip around, it's okay to relax your stance on a belief you once held. Like, there were a lot of beliefs that I have
Mhm.
that I've said publicly that I have relaxed my stance on, but I'm giving myself permission to say it's okay to kind of continue to work on the things that you believe now, knowing that 10 years from now, if you continue to talk about those things, you may change your view on those things. And that's
Yeah.
okay. That's part of that's being part of the generative process of life. Like, that's what that is. Give it out, share it. If it works for some, great. But again, it's really just fuel for me to kind of go out there and connect more dots. I just don't want to collect
Mm-hmm.
dots by
Yeah.
consuming. I want to
Yeah.
connect them in some way,
Yeah.
where I can see their intersections in my head. So,
I so much about what you're saying. Like, again, I know Rick is laughing because normally I have like all kinds of things to say back, but it's resonating with me
Mm-hmm.
so much just in
mhm.
how you're saying it and what you're saying. And I don't know if it's because the neurodivergent sprinkles in my brain are matching what you're putting out, but
It's
Very
it
you're like
powerful.
getting sparks just
Yeah.
firing in the brain constantly. I'm
yeah.
just like,
It is. It's and I know that our listeners will feel this way. And I've always really felt this way. One of the things that you were saying, and I totally understand, like, who cares, right? Like, who cares? And I remember doing this. I mean, going back to when we did the Clubhouse
hmm
room together. Those were the days where I was in that flow. The
Mm.
who cares? This is how I am. This is who I am. This is how I'm going to show up. And oh, look, there are two other people who are also doing that. And how can we work together to create a community, a room, if you will, to bring people together? It's funny.
mm-hmm.
I remember Rick showing up in the room and I'd be like, oh my God, there's Rick. And like, oh, there are all these people, and like the excitement that came with that. And it was because we just went, okay, well, we're going to do this thing. And like, who it's for will show up, and who it's not for, they'll go somewhere else. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think surrounding yourself with the people who also have that belief is really
Mm-hmm.
important. One of the things that I've experienced, like you said, give yourself permission to change your belief and kind of shift your thinking, which
Right.
is really indication of growth. It also means that you are going to find yourself with certain people falling away because your beliefs are changing
Mhm.
and new people coming in. And so I want you to talk a little bit, if you will, around that, surrounding yourself with those people. And then also, because it's so, like, as you speak, I'm like, Brian was born to be a coach. Like, there
Mm.
is no doubt in my mind that is your approach to everything. And you model what you are going to tell people to do because you want to be able to refer them back to that, which I love. I love that
Mhm.
immersive idea. But I've met coaches or leaders or people who have said, I'm going to go over into this school district, this classroom, this organization, and I'm going to make incredible changes. I'm going to do
Mm.
all of these great things. But time and time again, and because I see patterns, I see it often, people end up going into these environments and the organization or district or classroom changes them.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you talk to us
Sure.
about surrounding ourselves with the right people, and what do we do if we get into a situation where you thought teaching at that school was going to be awesome and then the next month they're all over the news and the state's taking over?
Yeah, that's a big one, right? So like I think what you're talking about there is putting yourself in the right environment, environments that match your sort of slope of growth and development and
Yes.
talents and
Mm-hmm.
skills and competencies and all those things, right? However, I will say like some people are just you're just stuck in an environment that doesn't support that
Mhm.
type of growth or that type of development, and there are real high stress um, organizations and I think schools that are feeling that and people that work there. So I don't want to discount anybody that's there. However, I would say um, what you're describing is real. I think Susan Rosenholt, she wrote about this in the Teacher's Workplace a while back. She talks about moving schools and stuck schools.
Mhm.
And you can think about this for any sort of knowledge work, I guess, that you're contemplating here. And by knowledge work, I just mean people who are responsible for creating content, constructing knowledge in an organization, right?
Mhm.
And she talks about being able to take teachers or knowledge workers from high performing learning organizations and then moving them to schools that are deemed to be stuck and not moving. And a moving teacher from a moving school put into a stuck environment will become stuck pretty quick.
Yes.
Yeah, because of the culture of things. Whereas a stuck teacher going to a moving school
Yes.
will begin to flourish and take the other direction. And I think that's true. And again, I don't have all the research on that necessarily, but if you just look at it in life, there are certain systems and places that you may not be able to impact. Your ambition for
Mhm.
the change or the implementation or the idea could be incredibly valuable to that organization or that school. If the conditions aren't right in the culture, it's possible that you will have to relax your ambition a bit and
Mhm.
understand and operate with a more of a level sense of like humility that you may not
Right.
be able to change the thing. But I also feel like that's why, as I mentioned about being in different domains of your life, for me personally, I don't get too fixed on my title. Like when I go to like a meeting or something like that, like I don't introduce myself. Hey, Brian Sepe, instructional coach, K through 12. I don't do that a lot of times. I'll do sort of Brian Sepe and maybe the building or the location or the school
Sure.
because I feel like I am interested in so many different things, and titles go away.
They
Like
do.
right?
They do.
So you,
Yeah.
It's so funny that you
yeah,
say that. Rick
yeah,
actually has a discussion about this, and I've gone through so many title changes
yeah.
since
Yeah.
2008, I think, when I started doing coaching. I was so fascinated by the focused time that we would sit around a table and
Mm,
for hours talk about what our titles were going to be as instructional coaches, as digital coaches. I've gone through multiple titles the last year. I went through multiple title changes at Wakelet.
Yeah.
I just think it's
mhm,
so interesting because really, like you said, at the end of the day, I'm Tisha Poncio. I'm going to show up. I
mhm,
am going to empower the people around me, whoever they
yep,
are. I am passionate about that. I'm passionate
uh-huh,
about people's stories. I'm passionate about pedagogy. And then I'm passionate about how are the products around us, whether it is
mhm,
a sleeping app to help Rick sleep better or an app for teaching. Like that's where I'm going to start leaning into that.
mhm,
But I think it's so interesting because there are so many organizations and schools and structures and systems that are so focused on that title. And Rick
yeah,
actually has a story from just
love
very
that.
recently about a
Yeah.
title.
Yeah. Just it's very. I work very similar to to yourself, Brian. That I couldn't care less about my title. I really don't. I mean, if I was so worried, I mean, I told you the things that I did at Wakelet. I mean,
Mhm,
my CV would just be a list of all
yeah,
those titles, and it's just pointless. For me, I'm very much of I'm there to deliver something, and that's what I'm going to focus on.
mhm,
My abilities are expressed through what I deliver. but as well, I'm very much of what can I help you with? That is it. I don't worry. I mean, my title is senior product designer. I think it might be founding product designer. I don't know. But my focus is how do I make the experience easier and more understandable? That's it. That's all I care about. I want to make sure that this is as simple as possible for the user who is using it. And especially in education, with Wakelet and also other things I've worked on, I want to produce something that solves a problem, makes someone's life better. That is it.
Yeah.
End of
And think
discussion.
about that for a minute. Like just you like the idea that you operate with like this high sense of like empathy for a user experience. And
Yeah.
your job is to figure out like, I will untangle the back end of a thing to make sure that the user experience is robust enough for you to feel confident and to develop your competencies around the thing that you're trying to do, which is probably
Exactly.
different than what I'm doing in the back end. And it's like that, what a gift, right? Like what a generous gift that is to be able to say like, I'll take that on, but I'll take it on with that person in mind. And I think the same thing goes for these titles. I think we get locked into the hierarchical status of titles because we want everybody to kind of fit a form. What you're describing and what I think Tisha and I are both describing here too is I want to know where we're going.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to know like, somebody help me understand the vision for the thing or the feeling that we're trying to create for people. And then let's just go after that thing. And then like, we'll see if my talents can help that. And if they don't, then what are the team components that we're putting around me and others or systems in place that can really accelerate that path for people? And I think that's what I want to be a part of. I don't, you can call me whatever you need to call me for pay purposes or payroll, I guess. But at the same time, it's like, I know I'm not afraid to get in front of an audience and I'm not afraid to say, hey, look, here's something that we're studying together. I'm going to give you some time in this workshop to think about the things that are being presented. I'm going to give you some time to empty those things out and process them with a partner or yourself individually. We'll discuss them. And then you're going to have time at the end of my workshops to build the thing, to begin the build process. Like, what are we actually going to build so that when you go back, you're prepared to take action? Because I think going back to the other thing that we described earlier, one of my big beliefs right now is really making sure that knowledge workers bias towards action. Because I think so many times, and maybe this is also ties into the hierarchical status. I haven't really played around with this much, but it's interesting. We're waiting for the next title above us to tell us how to do the thing, right? So my dependency on like waiting, it means that I get into a place of inaction. And where I don't want to be is have these really good thoughts. And Tisha, as you were describing, this high ambition and this high drive for maybe systemic change or looking at like how do we tinker with a process a little bit. Like if one way to accelerate the action is just like in our group, when we meet as a team, our commitment is whatever we talk about today, we're all going to go out and do something, right? Like we're all going to do the thing. Now we've talked about a lot as a group of 3 today. I would hope that you both and myself included go back and either change our mindset around something, but then are willing to act on that thing. What does it mean for you, your role, how you're seeing things, the people that you're with? And so I always tell people, like, if you spend 20 minutes with me, I'm probably going to end up like telling you, and you're like, I'm feeling stuck, whatever. I'm like, you're probably going to be signing up or at least browsing for a marathon close to you.
This is what I love about you, Brian, because I feel like I'm the same way. I'm like, okay, we're friends. Whoever is out there, you want to be my friend. It's funny because I laugh. I think to myself sometimes, oh, everybody is like, ooh, I should be friends with Tisha. And you can ask Rick. I'm like, you thought you wanted to be friends. I am giving you a challenge. Every time we meet, I'm like, how are we being better together? What are we going to do next? What is the actioning? But you said something that really hit home for me. And you said this word multiple times. You said time. Give them time. There's time to create. There's time to ideate. And then a time for action. Can you talk about that a little bit? Because from the education perspective, and I also have seen it in the corporate environments, time is something that it was like, go to this PD, here's all the information, and now we're back in our classrooms and we're back into that system, that process, and I don't have time to process what I just heard. I don't have time to test out what you told me would work, and therefore I'm not even creating time for reflection or switching up how I first approached it, like that, that design thinking process. Talk to me about time and how
Sure.
do leaders of schools, of organizations create time so that those actionable pieces are impactful?
I may not have an answer for everybody, and I think everybody's case is different. I can tell you what worked for us in our organization, and what has become a little bit more of my IP, I guess, in some ways. So, in full disclosure, I am writing my I am writing a book. It's been a long
Yes.
journey. It's
I've
taken
been
a long
waiting for
time.
this. Yes,
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
it's taken a long time, but it's a work in progress. But one of the things that I have in there, along with the coaches, leaders, people who are leading any of the professional learning in any organization, in my
Mhm.
opinion. And I just don't have enough experience in sort of the um, outside private world of organizations to think
Sure.
about this, but I would wonder if it's similar. Um, I think there's a learning loop that people go through, and I want you to think about this learning loop in a couple different ways. One is uh, you have to have high levels of, in order to have confidence in a discipline or a skill set, you have to develop your competencies around that domain. So you can think about that in any real domain, even just like your podcast setup that you're here, right? Like you're like, okay, well, we have to have some level of competencies of like being able to record this, edit it, market it
Mhm.
in some ways. Like you're all the things all the time,
Sure.
um, in writing the questions and all of that. But you've probably gotten a lot better and more confident with that
Mhm.
than you were at episode 1 through 9 or
Yes,
whatever.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can think about it across that X and Y there, right?
Mhm.
But learning loops, in my opinion, is what that's what I'm calling them. So I've designed these learning loops. I'm looking at one on the screen right now that I have, and they start very small in the lower left. Maybe
Mhm.
no confidence, no competencies, right? And we can think about this across time as you go through and enter one intentional learning loop. Um, and for me, the easiest way to do this is to think about it in terms of performance that maybe most people can relate to. When I signed up for my first marathon 5 years ago, I had no idea what it took to really run a marathon and be confident at my age. And so I just continued to just run every day with just no plan.
Yes.
And not, I mean, it was a plan. But as I continued to do that, that first time that I got through it and I got stuck in the marathon and everything seized up, I was like, okay, there were a lot of things that went really wrong in that marathon. I mean, I finished, but it went wrong. Apparently it was bad, you know?
Rick and I are only laughing because we have ran also. I ran
Oh,
a half
okay.
marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
So you
totally
got it.
understand what
Did
you're
half
saying.
marathons.
Yeah. So yeah. And I thought because I ran a half
Mhm.
marathon, I thought I would be like fine-ish, and I
Yeah.
was I
Yeah.
was it was not fine-ish.
No.
I was it was not good. And the race actually starts at like 13.1. And so but going through that evolution of that first loop and getting through it,
Yes.
now at the end of that loop, right? I've modified my actions based on my new learning. That
Mhm.
whole
Mhm.
experience was just one big learning loop.
Learning
Now, I could
experience.
break down the parts
Mhm.
for you here if you want to hear them, but it all starts with a
Mhm.
focus. And a lot of people will say yes, goals, whatever. But I would say, sure, if you're somebody who's established goals for a lot of areas and seen goals through, I would worry more about your systems, as James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. But
Mhm.
like your
Mhm.
systems, you will fall to the level of your systems. Like that's the
Yes.
key, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes.
having a
You ooh, say that one more time
yeah,
because that
you
was
will
good.
fall you will fall to the level of your systems, and it's true because as I went into the second loop for my second marathon, right? I had new systems. My system
Yes.
was to make sure that every day I came home that I had to walk over my shoes and make a decision. I either walked over
Mhm.
my shoes and decided not to run and had a bunch of guilt as I did some other
Yes.
things, or I decided to acknowledge that I saw the shoes, step over them, and then come back for them. And
Mhm.
so, I think that was a system that I put in place. Or the other system that I put in place is like I have a new system now, which is if I wake up before 5 o'clock in the morning, I will go to the gym. So sometimes I get up and I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it's 4:15. Why did I wake up? And I'm like, all right, but the rule is set, like the
Yep.
system is set before 5 o'clock. Go. Now, if I luck out on some of those days and I get past 5:15, I'm like, whew, all right. There's like
Right.
a little comfort, but or balance. I'll say balance. But I think again, just going back to your original question here, which is understanding your learning loops, starting with a focus, being able to frame that focus in with some sort of question. Right now, and here's the other thing. Now you want to list out the commitments that you're going to make to yourself. I'm going to run, and this comes down to duration and frequency in my mind, but people can decide to bend this some other way. I'm going to commit to right now. I'm on an article writing journey or
Yes.
Substack writing journey, if you will.
I love it.
Yeah, and I'm committing to writing one article per week for 10 weeks. Now I entered this loop as like somebody who I've written a lot in other areas, but I never had like a plan for like, what am I learning about myself as a writer or the
Sure.
content that I'm producing, or are there connected threads between what I'm producing each week? And can I write at large about that? And does it help people? And so right now I'm going in this commitment phase. So I had a focus, right? I framed that focus in with a question. What would it look like if I were to write 10 articles over the next 10 weeks, right? Now I make the commitment. Every Tuesday, I'm going to brainstorm the idea. I'm going to start drafting. Every Wednesday, I'm going to revise that thing and potentially publish. If it doesn't get published on Wednesday, Thursday is my day to hit publish, no matter what.
No matter what.
Right? No matter what. It doesn't matter. Even if it's half baked, whatever, there's nobody watching. There's nobody, like, no one subscribed to my Substack. So it's like not a big.
Well, yet.
Yeah. Right. But it's not, it's like permission slip to like, suck for a little bit here. So I'm not worried about it, in that regard. And again, it's an experiment for myself. Like, I don't know what's going to happen at the end of 10 weeks. I'm only 4 weeks into this, but we'll see. We'll see what's changed for me. And I'm monitoring it closely. So you've got focus, frame it in, get to your commitments. What are your list of actions? Now you get to that action stage, which is Thursdays for me in this case on this one. This is your permission slip. So that whole first set, which is your focus, your frame, your commitments, that's all like the incubation phase. You start like, hey, I'm going to run a marathon. Hey, I'm going to write 10 articles. You start thinking about it a lot. So it's incubating, right? Now you get to the action phase and it's like, oh, shoot, said I would show up to the page today. You got to hit publish. I know it's not fully done. And I actually caught like 2 errors that I had last week that were like in there. I'm like, I revised them after the fact, but it was okay. Like I made some mistakes.
Yeah.
Put that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get to the next phase, which is you study it, you pay attention to it, you gather some evidence, is it working or not? And then you evaluate it. Now here's the nice part. That's all iteration. That's just all iteration in that stage, right? Like you're just making, based on the feedback you're getting, you're changing it. When you leave that first loop now you modify your actions based on your new beliefs. Now you modify your actions. Like what is true about writing every day? What is true about putting things out there when you're scared? What is true about running a distance that you've maybe never run before? Like what is true about those things for you? And you enter your new loop, you transcend that loop, you move into the next loop with all of that stuff that you just went through. And like, that's the up and to the right progress around confidence and competencies. Like as you continue to amass, you guys have gotten better at podcasting, right? Like that's true. And there are certain things you're probably learning out there and you're paying attention to, and you're like, hey, listen, we're going to put this into play this week. We're going to try this thing where we open up a little differently. And that's the iteration phase.
100%. Everything that you said. So 2 things I want to say here, and then I'm going to let Rick talk because I was watching his brain. Like you were really itching all of the brain cells up there. He had lots to say. But I remember you talking about this. We have talked about this, you and I, even way back in 2021, we were talking about these loops and these habits and the intentionality around it. And, as you were speaking on this, and so everybody that's listening, I hope, one, you are taking notes. So go back, you can re-listen to this, take notes, and then we are going to find more about Brian's book because you're going to want to buy it. What I love is that you were just in this discussion and also on your TikToks, you took me to a place. As you were talking, I was in this place where I was like, okay, because I had told you before, I've hit every goal that I set for myself right out of college, my undergrad. And it was things like write a book. I'm trying to think what else. All of the things that I have discussed. Rick, What do you want to say?
It was purely the fact that you were saying that you had a list and you went write a book and
And then I ended, but it was like get my master's degree. It was write a book. There
yeah,
were lots of things. It was like, it was, are you still there?
I think he
Are,
might have dropped off
are
briefly.
you still there? You're
I'm still
still
here.
here. Okay. He'll be back. He'll be back.
I'll be back.
Um,
Yes.
one of the things that he said is I was just realizing I've done that with everything. What he's describing is it's like I get this audacious idea where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to write a hot air balloon. Okay. Well, what do I need to do that? Okay.
Actually
Well,
get to that
I
point.
don't actually know how to run a half marathon, but I know that I need to run. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
going to
that, that's
start
what that's what I
running.
liked is the idea that I remember when I was doing my half marathon, and I didn't have a plan. I literally got up 3 to 4 times a week, ran on a treadmill for 30 minutes, steadily built that up to 50 minutes. Once a week would go out and do an actual outdoor run for 10 kilometers. But it I didn't prepare myself for the variation because
Hmm.
my goodness, the route that I actually did, which was basically about driving along, well, running along roads and stuff like that, which most marathons are. But there was one section which is called the Mancunian Way, and I know Tish, you've
Oh, I
been
know
on the
that section.
Mancunian Way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But anyone
This is
that
like this
doesn't
is like
know is like
this is
it's
like
like a
I-35. It's I-35 in Dallas because that's where my marathon was, on the bridge. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the thing is, the Mancunian Way isn't just a straight flat road. It goes
yeah.
up and down and up
Oh,
and down.
yes.
And I had not trained myself for
You just went
hills.
flat.
I just was flat. I was flat,
Yeah,
or a
yeah.
slight incline for little bits. But it was the fact that this was up and down, up and down. And the thing is, this was mile 2 into the whole thing.
They just started you off
They
right there.
start you off, and
Well,
then the
it's
worst
so
is they have it coming back the other way. So you do it
yeah,
at
so
mile
you have
2
to do it
and at
again.
mile 8,
Yeah.
and you've still got another 5 miles after
Well, so
that.
what
And
I
it,
would say to you based on what Brian just said is I would have said to you, and this is why it's so important to have thought partners when you're doing something like this, right? I would have
oh,
said to you, Rick, have you trained with hills before you started running this marathon? Because did you even look at the layout for the marathon? Did you look at where the course is going to be? Did you
I
pre-run that?
I did, but I didn't take the gradients into consideration. So going
So
back to the whole system approach, Brian, welcome back.
Mhm.
yes, Brian's back with us. We were
Briefly lost you for a
talking,
moment, but we were
yeah.
taking what you were saying on board
Hmm.
with the loops and how to making sure that you've got a system in place for when you're doing stuff. So we were just
But
saying
also
about
with thought
my
partner. That's what I was telling
exactly.
Rick, because everything, yes to everything you said, and I was applying it, to all of the goals I've set. So writing a book, getting my master's. I mean, I had a long list of, a bucket list of goals to do. I've hit all of those except for riding in a hot air balloon. So I was kind of talking about that. And then we started talking about Rick's marathon. And I said,
Mm.
you also need to have a thought partner when you
Yeah.
decide to do something like that, because he said I wasn't ready for the hills. I
Yeah.
said,
That's
Yeah.
if
it.
you had told me you were running that, I would have said, did you study the course? Do you know exactly where you're running?
I knew exactly where I was going because I looked at a map, but I obviously didn't take
That's
into the elevations,
Yeah.
gradients, all those kind of things. Because
that's
you
such a
just
good
think
analogy.
I'm going to run a race. All I'm used to is a flat surface. I said to
Yeah.
Tish that I was training on a treadmill 3 or 4 times a week, and then I'd go and
Mhm.
run 10K outdoors. But again, I just run where I live in Manchester. Well, where I used to live in the city centre of Manchester, we have canals all going everywhere, but majority of it is just flat paths all the way
Mhm.
along, and it doesn't prepare you for the actual race that you're going to do because you're not taking those
I
things
would
into
even
consideration.
challenge, though, this idea, and this is something that I learned as I was modifying actions and the commitments and things that you were talking about after I ran the half marathon. Um, one of the things I realized, and I think a lot of people think of goals in this way, and it was the same thing when we were writing the book. You think about the book is going to be out, the book is going to be published. Oh, I'm going to have the medal for the race that I've run. It's all about that certificate at the end of your master's. The truth of the matter is, the real success comes right before that. So what I mean by that is the day that I woke up and I could run 10 miles straight easily, that was the winning day for me. The day that Rick and I finished writing the very last word in the editing process and we could sit back and go, "Oh, we did it." That was the success, right? The master's degree, staying up late and working on all of those projects and those classes from 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. every night while I was still doing a job and being a parent and consulting and coaching. It was before I walked the stage that I felt the success. And so I think sometimes when we are looking at anything we're doing with the process that you've just shared, this learning loop, sometimes we think that the satisfaction is going to come at the end of that, but the satisfaction really arrives long before that. Would you agree?
I do agree with that. And that's the biggest thing is like, again, going back to Atomic Habits, it's like, you know, what is the person you want to become? Right. Like that's the issue. It's like, I want to be, this is going to sound really arrogant here. But it's a long, I want to be the
I
type of
already know what you're
person.
going to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to be in the type of shape that if you said to me tonight, there's a marathon at midnight, Brian, and I got you a free entrance, then I could run the thing.
Yep.
I want to be in that type of level of fitness. Now, again, fitness for where I am developmentally, like that's different.
But
I want
you're
to be the type of person.
preparing for the
Correct.
opportunity that you know is coming. So I understand exactly what you're saying. I think of it like this. The future version of myself, what does she do? I'm looking forward and going, okay, well, she dresses this way. And I think of it like I'm going to represent the girls here. I'm like, she smells this way. She wears this type of lipstick. These are the habits. This is what time she goes to bed. This is her facial care, right? Like, and so when you think of it in that way, in anything, that's how you're setting yourself up to be ready for the opportunity. So you're writing on the Substack, the way that you're putting that habit in place, in a sense, you're creating more opportunities just by doing that and knowing it's not perfect for more books, right? And I think that is something I was talking about fear earlier, and I really do try to just be authentic and kind of my feelings because I think some people don't even go that far because of the fear. They're afraid of failure before they've ever tried.
Yeah.
And I think if you can think of it in the way Brian just said, okay, here's the other thing. So I have a friend, his name is James Jude Courtney, okay? If you don't know, Brian,
If you know the movie Halloween.
he plays Michael Myers in Halloween.
Alright,
We are
okay,
literally
yeah.
friends.
I
Now,
got it.
I talk about this story a lot, and he messaged me, I think it was like 2 years yesterday since I've met him, and I just said, happy 2 years of running into you at the airport or something. And I think back to that moment because that moment with him actually did change the trajectory of my life. He introduced me to certain people who it was an incredible thing. It was divine timing. And he even wrote message back and he sent me a word and I had to look up the word to go, what does this mean? But I'm thinking, and I've told Rick this multiple times, if I had not listened to my intuition and been like, you know what, I need to go on a trip and I'm going to pick this place to go on the trip and I'm going to spend some time there. And I do like these solo trips every year. If I had not done that and planned all of that out, I would not have been in the right place at the right time in order to now have my life trajectory changed, right? And so I think it's all about those little micro habits, like you said, to be ready for when somebody pays for you to now I am going anytime I find one, I'm gonna be like, Brian, I'm paying your entry fee now. Marathon on your calendar.
Well, I think what you're also describing too is like, again, being part of the bigger generative process. Like, you know, I could have another 50 years of life, right? Like, what am I going to do with my time?
Yes.
How would I offload some of the skills and things that I might know or have been able to work through or whatever, and give that back? Or what are the states of learning? Like, what does it feel like to be in a beginner's mindset? I talked about this with my kids a little bit a while back, and I was talking about this generation in particular, and I worried about their resilience to failure.
Mhm.
And my quest was like, how do you build up the reservoir of like your resilience
And productive
for
failure,
failure?
right? Yeah.
And so I just started, this is another one of these like weird experiments, but I probably got it from somebody out there. But I tried everywhere I went in front of my kids, I asked for something for free. Now,
Oh,
it had
yeah.
nothing.
I've done this before.
Yeah,
I know what
right.
you're
It's a good
talking
one.
about.
Yeah. So I've
Rick
just
has
gone out there
seen
and
this. Rick has
yeah,
seen me in
yeah.
action with this.
Yeah,
Tell
it's a
this
good
is so
experiment to
good.
run because you realize like you're like, I'm okay. Like they said no. But
Yes.
most of the people that say no will smile at you.
Yes.
Most people that you ask, and I'm asking it like, strange places and more normal places,
Yes.
right? Like I'm asking the person, you know, changing the oil, like, what are the chances that I get this for free
I've
today?
gotten
They'll
a
say,
free oil change
okay, see, I
because of
haven't.
that.
See, you're in a class all by yourself. But I've also gotten like a small coffee as a
Yes.
result of just asking for it. So
Yes.
the again, the lesson is like, right. So what is your resilience to failure? Like
Mhm.
how quickly do you bounce back? Because things are not gonna when you enter a loop, things are not gonna go well. Like you didn't train
No.
Rick for the elevation of the
Yep.
marathon. Like, but as you enter the next loop, knowing that you didn't have to be perfect, you were just chasing progress, you weren't chasing perfection.
Mm-hmm.
And now you enter
Mm.
this next loop with this mindset of like, haha, I've got something to focus on. I know I can cover the distance, but I want to get a little bit better. So my new target, my new goal, my new focus, my new frame is this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do it in this new system. Like once a week, I'm actually going to train on a hill. And that just becomes like part of your new system for your new learning loop. And the more times you do that learning loop in that domain, because again, I think other things like I think about relationships. I was
Yes.
working on listening. I've become a really good listener despite my impulsivity about wanting to jump in.
Did you know?
And
I'm going to jump in though. I'm going to
see,
do
there
it
you
with
go.
you.
That's exactly it.
Because I
We're
want you
modeling
to
it.
know we are modeling it. So I need to say this because it came up
Yeah.
last night and I went, oh, I almost sent it to Rick. The jumping in with neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, when
Yeah.
we jump in,
Yeah.
if we are jumping in the middle of a conversation, it is our indication to you that we are so tuned
So in
into
tune.
what you were
Yeah.
saying and so on the same level of
Yeah.
passion that we want to show it in that
Yeah.
way. Rick, this is why I was going to send it to him because he used to be like, Tisha, stop interrupting me. And I was like, but I
Yeah.
really just love what you're saying. But
Yeah.
when you have multiple of them, so I'm sure you've experienced this, people talking
Yeah.
over
Oh
you
yeah.
and somebody else at lunch or dinner, and it's like you're having 14 conversations, the two of you, but you know exactly where you are in each of those. It is a
It's frightening.
sign that you have
Yeah.
found deep connection. So I did just want to share that bit.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Yeah, you are, and I mean, you're also the great spoiler for any movie or any predictable plot. So it's
do you
great.
sit in the
It's
movies
yeah.
and go, do you
I'm
ever
like, I
like
know
tell a
this
person,
one. Yeah.
I haven't seen this
Yeah.
actually, but here's what's about to happen.
Here's what's going to happen. By the way, have you paid attention to this character? But yeah, I think that is also part of it. I think it's like, yeah,
Yes.
you jump in and you kind of say that. But I got really good at listening, and part of the way that I got really good at listening was by working on and having that focus, going back to the bigger domains that we talked about, this work-life balance, if you will. Really focusing on my relationships. And the question was, my frame at that point was, how do I improve the relationships with the people that I live with, which is my wife and my two kids. And I didn't know how to do that other than to deploy like little things. So it started with just asking them really great questions about their day and coming up with a reservoir of questions that I could ask, and then being a really good listener and saying, this is not about me. And so that was basically the system that I created for myself. Now, do I operate with that system intentionally now? No, but it was part of the learning loop that I was in for relationships.
You've rewired your brain to where
100%.
now it's like an autopilot of, and I do this too. This quote that you've said, it's not about me. It's so important. We talk about the 4 agreements in our book.
You got that one up
And
there.
yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
I'm like, not taking things personally, but it also goes along with, it's not about me. And the way that you're doing it with your family, I've started practicing that with my daughter. Because we emotionally are so attached and love these people around us as neurodivergents, it is hard to go, okay, this isn't about me, and it's not how about I feel, it's how she feels about it. And what questions can I ask her so that she has this ability to just unload a little bit, because she's also neurodivergent. So I love the questions that you're asking yourself, and I think that's what I've taken from this whole episode.
Mhm.
And so correct me if I'm wrong, and Rick, you're gonna come in and also probably correct me very quickly, but I've heard a couple of things and I wrote them down. You're giving a permission slip to yourself
Mhm.
for multiple things.
Mhm.
You're telling yourself essentially, just do this to learn, right? And then you're going to share your learning. And you are asking yourself questions like, what would it look like if
Mhm.
I did blank?
Mhm.
And I think what is so great about this is because you have such a capacity for self curiosity and self improvement that it just exudes from you wherever you go. And I think that's why you are an incredible role model for me. And I know an incredible coach for the people that you work with.
Mhm.
Rick, what did you get from this podcast? What have you
Can I
learned?
can
And
I check in one other thing
oh,
that you
Okay,
just
go
mentioned
for
there
it.
too?
please.
Because I think it goes back to something you asked earlier, and I don't want to
Yes.
make this I mean, we could make this a 2-hour podcast, but I think we'll come back. I'll come back another time.
Okay.
But
Yes, you
Oh,
will.
absolutely,
For the book
absolutely.
launch.
but the
Yes.
yeah, but if that ever happens, but the other key, as you were talking about earlier, about worrying about what other people
Mm,
think. The other
yes.
frame that I've used, and again, I can't remember. I mean, everything is the quotes are all attributable to Churchill, right, or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't know where it came from, but
Oh, I know are you going to say the one I
the
know?
the the one that I think is really important here is like anybody. If you're worried about anybody that doesn't have the life that you want, and you're worried about their opinion,
Yes.
you have to check that down a little bit for yourself, and you say like,
Yes.
am I welcoming the opinions of people whose
Who aren't in
lives
the
I
arena
don't
with us.
desire? Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's the thing where I've sidestepped that conversation. I'm like, people just maybe aren't. I'm not saying I'm like at some level that people aren't, but I'm also not worried about the commentary from people that are not where
Mhm.
I am in the things that I'm trying to do.
Mhm.
And again, nobody ahead of you, the person who's run like 10
Right.
marathons and you've run one and are trying for your second, like that person is not,
You're
is going to
right.
be your biggest champion, is going to be your biggest supporter
Because they
because they know
know.
what it takes. So
Mhm.
I always think about that when I'm like posting a thing or putting something out there. I'm like, yeah, this isn't for everybody. You're right. But if this helps one person
I
or
needed
it
this
lights a
reminder.
Yes,
fire, yeah,
yeah.
it's fine.
That
It's totally fine.
it's that one approach of if it helps one person that I've always had that
Yeah.
mindset for. I'm not. It's the same with
It's
these
a great mindset.
podcasts. It's everything that I've actually done, and I think it was Will Smith that actually said if I'm not doing something that makes one person's life better, I'm wasting my life. Now,
Mm,
obviously, I don't take it as extreme as I'm wasting my life if I'm not helping one person because I still need to help myself.
yeah.
But I do look at it as if I'm doing something that isn't for me, but out for somebody else, as long as it helps one person, I know I'm doing the right thing. And it could be a message, it could be a product, it could be just even as simple as opening the door for somebody else,
Mhm.
Mm,
then that is
No, I
my
think there's
kind of
something really
way of
to that.
focusing.
My doctor, talk about life work balance. I've had to go to the doctor a lot the last year,
mm,
and she told me, I mean, she's very serious. She was like, I had to cancel my gym memberships, right? It was a whole thing, right? But
mm,
she was like, every time I go, she's like, okay, now you're going to do something with your brain that doesn't require like you to be hyperactive with your body because I need you to rest. And so she gave me all of the like I play Nintendo Animal Crossing and do Sudoku
mm,
puzzles
mhm,
and do watercolors and do writing. But the other day when I saw her, she was like, maybe like volunteering, like do
mhm,
something. And so I started really thinking about that. She was telling me that she volunteers for hospice.
mhm,
And it was around that same time, and this really goes back to what you're saying, Rick. I went to the store just to grab something. It was later at night because the sun sets at like 4 p.m. now. And so I try to be really careful when I'm alone in the dark. And there
right,
was this elderly lady parked close to the door. And I'm always very cautious because I'm never sure if someone's actually scamming me or not, right? And she was like, "Ma'am, can you help me? Can you call my phone?" And I just stopped what I was doing. I called her phone. She had lost her phone in the car. And so I rang her phone a couple of times. It was like no big deal. It costs nothing,
mhm,
right?
Mhm.
mhm,
And she found her phone, and then she was like, you could tell she was so flustered. And I was relating to her because I was like, I bought an Apple Watch just so I could find my phone. And so I was like, of course I'm going to help her out. But she was so relieved. And I remember going into the store, getting what I needed and leaving. But that feeling of helping someone out without expecting anything in return is what I think we just need to keep coming back to over and over. And so I love that you've said that. It's about helping other people, and I think we all are very similar in that underlying foundation of our lives. We want to help other people, but we also know we can't do that if we don't help ourselves, right? And it's about surrounding ourselves with people who think like us and challenge our thinking. Like I think if we had a round table and we had like a coffee or a dinner together, I think there would be some deep discussions and maybe some debates and maybe some like challenging ideas of each other's thinking, which I think is really important. And that's why we wanted to do this podcast.
Yes. It's needed.
Brian, this is gone. I would have you for 2 hours. We are going to have you come back though, because I do want to deep dive some more things. I want to ask this question, and it's going to be a little bit spicy, a little bit cheeky, as they would say in the UK. Is there a moment in your career where you felt like your ego got in the way? And if so, what did that moment teach you?
Yeah, I'm glad that it happened early in my career. I had a very high competency around cooperative learning structures in the classroom, and when I got my first taste of working with teachers, I sort of went out and pushed those ideas as possibilities on others. And what happened was I experienced a lot of resistance. Some people were just not doing the thing after we left, or we talked about it, or that I modeled it. And or people would tell me that they've heard that other people are feeling like you continue to push just these ideas on people, and that they're not ready for it or not interested in it. And what it taught me was, and it's become one of my mantras, is everybody's on like their own trajectory. And so it's not about taking people from somewhere where they are to some place that I want them to be. It's about taking them from somewhere to somewhere. I don't know what that is, but the exploration is in those learning loops that I've now come across, which is they'll develop their own understanding of what they want it to be in time. And it's just about really understanding where they are in their journey of change. I've just adopted this as my sort of big mission and vision, is my role and everything that I do. And again, if my title were to change, I would still do the same thing for whatever audience that I'm with, coworkers or whatever. I help people find their first step in whatever they're trying to work towards. And I help people navigate their next steps with action, clarity, and energy. And that's the key. Like that's the key, is being crystal clear on that purpose. And again, there are times when it's tested, like in that example that I just talked about. And even now it's tested because not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants that ready. But when they are ready, and
you're
they
right.
want it, here for them.
Not everybody wants. I do sometimes find that it's triggering for people, and sometimes it's triggering when you're, you and I focus a lot on the self-growth. That's so good. I relate to that story a lot. It's in that passion and excitement that we want everybody to experience that, and being able to kind of step back and again go, this isn't about me. I love how you framed that. Rick, do you have something you would like to say? I still am going to do Juice Box Confessionals, even if you cut this out.
That's absolutely fine, because I was thinking going
really
into
easy.
Juice Box Confessionals, because even though we don't, not because we're now an hour and 15 minutes into it, because I could easily go for another 3 hours, but I'm looking, even though we, sorry.
I said Brian's a celebrity.
Yes, he is.
He's like, my people are calling. I need to go.
But it's purely, obviously we want this to be a conversation, but we're also going to have questions. And I'm looking through my questions, and I'm like, we've done that. We've done
He's
that.
answered
We've
them
done that.
all.
We've done that. And it's purely because of how you align, especially as a leader, because one of the things I had here, which is a very generic approach of what makes a leader, not a manager, but also, like, as you were just saying, that you were going in egotistical with this idea, forcing your opinions onto an environment and stuff like that. And I think one thing is people that want to become leaders who may be in a managerial kind of aspect, how do they change their approach on that? But also, how do they change from moving away from just giving advice? Because I know I've had that struggle before where it's essentially just feels like I'm giving them advice and nothing more. There's no, I don't know if it's passion or whether it's the energy I'm giving or whatever it might be that changes, that shifts that opinion of what it is I'm explaining to somebody. If any of that just made any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think when you're talking about this idea of managing to leading, that's a tricky big bucket of a shift. But I also feel like I'll start at the end, which is like, do you have an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are? Like that matters a little bit too, because like if you haven't done the thing and you haven't walked the talk enough, then there is a credibility issue, and you don't want your credibility to be attacked. So when I say to people like, I have studied the science of learning and here's where I am in the science. Now again, I'm not at the level of any of these researchers and writers. That's not the point, but I'm not positioning myself as a researcher or a writer in that domain. I'm saying I'm taking the thought leaders' expertise that is out there, and I'm taking a practitioner approach to it's like, what does this mean when you find your first step with the science of learning? Like, what do you need to know? What do you need to understand? And what do you need to be able to do with that information? Now that I have it, I go out and I test it and I play it and I enter that first loop and I just play. And I'm like, you know what? My new discoveries after this first loop are X, Y, and Z. And here's what I've learned about the thing. Just like I described to you about my own learning, it's like the failed attempt early in my career taught me a lot about like, I can't go in and command a room and say, these are the things you must try or do. I think all of that is true for the work of becoming a leader. It's like, and it's going to take time. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I feel like that's the first step is like, what proof are you accumulating that is you are doing the thing, or you're saying that you are the person you are. And I think that's the key is like, I want to call myself a writer because I have ideas that need to be organized in a way that they can be digested and metabolized by other people. But if I'm not writing, then I can't say, you know, here, follow this way or try these things or do these things. It's like, I don't have any proof of that. Now that I am writing a little bit more, I have some evidence that I am who I say I am. I'm working with these ideas, not fully formed. I think the same thing happens for leaders as you get caught in what the job description entails now, and you start to manage those details and you lose sight of the impact that you technically want to have on other people. I've often said this, and this goes back to, if you look back on the bookshelf here, Simon Sinek's work about the infinite game. And you got it. I think that's
you were the one that I think you were the one that told me about the infinite game, and I
back in 2021.
Yes, I have it in the hard copy and the audio version.
Yeah, you spent all the money.
Yes.
But in there, I think that's probably part of the first like thing here is like, what type of game are we playing? If you're in education, I just said this yesterday to our colleagues, like, it's possible that I'm not around in 5 years in this system of the school district, right? And I'm in another field. If that's the case, what are the systems? If I'm replaceable and there's going to be another me in that role, what are the systems that are in place that we've influenced now, 5 years before, that person can be set up for success to continue the work of working with students? And I think like that's the game. So we are playing an infinite game.
It's a legacy.
It's and if you're playing a finite game, that's very different. Hey, sell as much product as you possibly can by X time. Like, I get that one. You need to know the rules of both games, but I feel like ultimately becoming a leader, especially in places where you're playing infinite games, then I do think it's important that you understand what are the things you're trying to influence and impact so that they are left for the people after you.
So good. So many mic drop moments. I literally wanted to take my mic off and drop it just for the visual for anybody watching.
I really appreciate being on here. Thank you guys so much.
No, Brian, you're incredible.
Amazing.
I do feel like we've just gotten a free coaching session, and thank you so much.
Too kind.
Now,
the invoice will be sent over.
no, there's no invoice. There's no invoice. Here's the thing, though. Juicebox confessionals.
All
I'm
right.
going to make a little bit fun. So I'm going to start off with this one because I have ideas of who you were as a kid, but I now I really just want to know. So, what was your playground superpower when you were a kid?
Gosh, playground superpower. That is a great question. I love that. My playground superpower was like, was it, I guess it was I was a ball of energy with high levels of like verbalization. Like I just talked a lot. I don't know I don't know if that's a real superpower so much as maybe like a kryptonite for
you were probably the team captain of like kickball or football or baseball. Yeah.
I was willing to just get it started without the rules, and we'll just figure it out as we go. Yeah.
Okay. So pretend like when you were in school, lunch was Wall Street. Okay. So what was your highest commodity, highest value lunch item? In the
My
cafeteria.
highest value lunch item in the cafeteria. Like, what did I place as the highest value?
What did you place? Your friends? What would you trade for? Like,
what would I trade for? Oh my gosh! Like, I was a sucker for a good French fry during the middle of the day. This is so bad. My highest commodity. My friend and I used to split French fries in high school, and it was that was my highest commodity. Yeah. I don't know if it was just because it was the cheapest item on the thing, but that's what it was. Yeah.
There's something about cafeteria French fries though. Like when Rick and I worked at Wakelet, there was this little cafe downstairs, and I still dream about the chips, right? Yeah. The French fries, the chips with gravy. Oh my God, they were so good. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I don't know if Rick has any. Usually he puts this all on me because he just likes to see what I ask. So this is going to be fun. What's the dial-up internet moment of teaching? The thing that takes forever, but we pretend is just normal.
Dismissal duty. It's like dismissal duty. I don't know how it's unequivocally dismissal duty. If anybody says different, please tell them to call me, because I watch my colleagues every day and I'm like, I don't know how this is taking another 25 minutes. Like it's January, it's June. We have to figure that it has to be like dialed in. It just and you know what? And honestly, like in fairness to all of the drivers out there, like I know it is so complex in such a
as a parent
a process
who would be in the little line. I mean, like even here, I live just a couple of blocks from the elementary school, and sometimes I will forget that if I go to get a Dr. Pepper or a Coke down the street at 2:30 p.m., I forget that all the parents are lined up for miles already.
But it is the dial-up moment for sure.
Okay, so this is kind of the same type of question. It's going to be like old school technology. It's going to make you laugh. What's the educational equivalent of blowing on a Nintendo cartridge to make it work?
All right. I think it's gotten better, but it is typically figuring out the whatever your board technology is in your room, if you're using finding some way to make sure that it is synced, plugged in, that your volume is on and routed to the right spot. Like all of those factors for teachers, I think sometimes it is that morning moment where you're like, right, the slide isn't loading or whatever, and you're just sort of sitting there like,
yes, blowing it, unplugging, turning off, pressing all the buttons at one time.
Yeah, whatever the board technology is. And again, I know they've gotten a lot better, so I think we're almost out of that phase. I don't know what the next phase is behind it, but that was one for a while where it was like, the board technology.
Okay, so this is going to be a little bit sentimental, and we'll wrap up with this one. I want to know what your biggest struggle as a student was, and along with that, which teacher really made your life better and led you to go into what you do today?
I've talked about this publicly before on some of my TikToks. All of school all K-12 was a struggle. It just was. I didn't, when you're from the generation that I'm from, misdiagnosed neurodivergence sometimes got a bad rap around behavior and not fitting the box. And what I have learned about that is I had so many really good gifts, and I have had to go back and tell that little boy and that person that
Mhm.
like it was okay and it's like not your
Mhm.
fault. Um, I've done a lot of that work, that little shadow work on myself,
Yes.
but I feel like it was a struggle because I just couldn't compartmentalize. I couldn't like the executive functioning part of things, or what I have time blindness. I mean, you name it. It's like object permanence. Like none of these things make sense. I don't know where the thing is because it doesn't exist. It's like in the bag, or whatever. But like
Yes.
all the things are just it's tricky because like all of those things were real struggles, and I
Huge.
didn't have the support around the schooling
Mhm.
system to really
Mhm.
diagnose that early and get that. And it wasn't
Mhm.
until late that I got that. But all of those things gave me a really good gift, because what I had to rely on heavily, when I look back on that same time frame, I look back at like what were my coping skills and how do they manifest today. And it's like I've got a high level of like auditory processing that I do really well. Like I can hear, like you said earlier, like I can hear multiple conversations at the same
Yes.
time and understand what's happening in each one of them,
Yes.
are separate tracks. But just being able to hear things like rich vocabulary and incorporate that
Mhm. Oh,
into not having to look it up, but having to
mhm.
just like play with it and get it to like, I think I know what that word means. Oh, I said it
Yes.
out of context. Now I definitely know what that word means. You know, in being able to use it, and being a good communicator and finding out ways to
Mhm.
communicate my feelings of not being a high flyer academically,
Yeah.
or according to what the school describes as their, subjective measures
Yes.
of standards. So, but now giving back and really recognizing, those things and being in conversations now with people where it's like, actually, these are not behavior problems. These are like functionality systems and executive functions that we have to work through with kids, and just really shaping those conversations one to one as best as I can. But yeah, it's shown me like, and then I had a teacher. It wasn't until college that somebody saw
Mhm.
somebody. It's so bad. It sounds so terrible. It's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. Like I don't really think I had
But
like
I think we have similar
horrible
stories, Brian, because it's
story.
the same
Yeah,
thing for
Mhm.
me. I
yeah,
exact same
yeah,
scenario. Nobody caught it
yeah,
until I
yeah,
met Rick, and he went,
yeah,
"Oh."
Yeah. Yep.
So
yeah.
that was like
But
well into adulthood.
when I got to college, I had a professor who I work at this college now, at the university
Mhm.
now, with her because of her. But Dr. Nancy Wallace, she saw something in me early that I did not see in myself as an
Mhm.
educator. She pushed me and challenged me to take the skills that she was able to see around communication,
Yes.
around breaking down something into small bite-sized pieces for people.
Yes.
And she pushed me to continue to get out there and in front of people and
Yes.
say the thing. And I'll never forget that. And I'm forever grateful for her and many others. I mean, Jim was the same way. He saw a lot in
Mm.
me too as a professional, um, in my career. And he continues to talk about it, and the idea of like, you need a lot of ideas. You need people who can brainstorm ideas and then start the actions and get the things rolling and then iterate along the way. And those
Yes.
people are valuable commodities to any organization, because the rigid thinking sometimes isn't always the best, or it's best when it's accompanied with
Right.
people who can think outside of the box too. So, yeah, I think those people, educators, and people in my life really helped me sort of compartmentalize that feeling as a student, because I always felt like I was behind. I told
Always.
this,
Me
I said
too.
this to Jim at some point too, like the feeling even just as an adult, like
Still. Mhm.
walking that,
Mhm.
yeah, you feel like you're just like everybody's got it figured
Mhm.
out, and like here I
Yep.
am, and it's like, but I actually feel like that has served me because it has continued to push me to strive and not become complacent, right? So it's
Mm.
like, all right, well, if I've got to play catch up, what does catch up look like today? I
Yeah.
got to get to the gym. I got to do the thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it. But thank you so much for asking that. It's a good question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rick and I resonate with your story so much of what you've
Yes.
said, we've experienced ourselves. For anybody listening, and you suspect you may be neurodivergent, you have the same struggles, know that the feeling of needing to always catch up is one of those things that we feel too. It's very easy to look at people or listen to this podcast and think that we have it all figured out. We definitely don't. And that's why we're coming
No.
together, having these discussions, and we're going to have Brian back again. So many quotes, mic drop moments. Brian,
Oh
thank you
goodness,
so
yes.
much for giving us so much of your time and letting
Mhm.
us create a platform for you to share your thoughts and ideas. And I feel so lucky to have crossed paths with you, and just so thankful for everything you're sharing out there. Rick, what do you have
Likewise, my
to
friend.
say?
Yeah, I think the biggest one, Brian, if people want to follow you and
Mm.
learn more from you and stuff, where's best to check your work out?
Yeah, and let's be clear, like I'm experimenting with the writing thing. So when you find me there, like like
Let's be clear.
relax. But you can find me at most places at Brian _ Sepe SEPE_. That's pretty much it. I have rebooted the YouTube channel a little bit on some of that, but TikTok is a short form. I get in there, I'll say a thing every once in a while, and then maybe I'll drag that over into Instagram sometimes. And
That's the way to go, though.
so,
I do
yeah.
find that more people are, and even for me, that's where I watch you, is on TikTok, because it will populate up and I'll be like, oh, there's Brian. Let me go to his page and like catch up on all the videos. But yeah, I love that you
And
have consistent. Go
I'll put
ahead.
a plug in for Choice Literacy too. I have some
Yes.
writing over there if you want to talk to Choice Literacy. The folks there are doing a great job. Ruth Ayers, big mentor of mine. So that's another place you can find me. And then I also am putting some things together around community too, trying to figure out ways to reboot the Thought Partner podcast too. So
We
get it
love
out.
that. Please,
Amazing.
please do that.
Yeah.
Would love to listen to you on the regular. Um, Thank you so much. And if you don't know about Gym Night and you want to get connected, Brian can give you all the information. We were lucky enough to have him guest spot on our community clubhouse
Yeah.
room one time, so that was fun.
I'll never forget that, how nervous everybody was. And I was like, but I'm telling you, Jim is the most practical
Yeah,
human
yeah,
being out there, and wants to give what he
yeah,
knows and ways of working and ways of being. He wants to give that away. He wants to
yeah.
get that into people's hands. And
It's
he's
what
just so
makes him
generous
so
that way.
great, right?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Well,
That's all we need.
this has been one of the best podcasts ever. I feel
Yeah.
like I've learned so much, and I have no doubt, Brian, that Rick is probably going to sign up for a half marathon again soon. I'm going to
You
be
know,
brushing my
I
teeth
actually
with my
wrote
left
it
hand.
down.
I knew you did. I'm
I
going to
did
be
write it
brushing
down.
my teeth with my left hand for 30 days. Please check in.
Yep,
I will be
same.
recording on TikTok about my progress, because as Brian has said, just post it. Just do
Yeah,
it.
just post
Yeah,
the
just
thing.
do
Who
it.
cares?
That's excellent. No, again, Brian, thank you for joining us on the
Of course.
Played 3 podcast. All the socials and everything for Brian is in the description. You can check out Tish and I on socials. I'm not going into the names of them because we've had a big thing about it every time. But anything with the Played 3 podcast, we're on socials: Facebook, X, Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok, all of them. Go check us out. Go follow us.
And share this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Share this podcast wherever you are listening to. And until next week, we'll see you then. Bye for
Bye.
now.